different questions.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, the questions you didn't ask me.
That's right. That's right. You want to try to do that?
No,
Okay.
they're not.
Okay. So, sex scenes. Do you do your own research?
You know, I get that, you know, probably every other interview. I have 3 children.
Enough said.
The evidence speaks for itself.
I don't have any children. I don't feel bad. So, you know, when people first meet you, and, you know, because you don't look like a writer. Everybody thinks writers look a certain way. I always get people saying, I thought you'd be taller. Or, you know, I mean, they just, I don't know what idea people get in their heads, but when people meet me, they do say that. Or when I'm signing books, they'll say to their friend, oh, I thought she'd be taller. And I think, I'm sitting right here, I can hear you. So what kind of books, when you say to people, I'm a writer, what kind of books do they normally assume that you write?
Children's books.
Yeah.
They always say, oh, but you look just like my aunt. And I thought, well, soon it's going to be, you look just like my grandmother. So better be happy with aunt.
Well, I had somebody say to me the other day, I've been reading you since I was a teenager, and my bowels turned to liquid. Because this was like a grown human being.
Yeah.
But you've been doing this a hell of a lot longer than me. What's the worst thing someone said to you about in that vein?
I started reading you when I was a little kid, and I'm going, wow, you must have been really mature for your age, you know, because my books are kind of explicit sometimes, and I thought you must have been a popular girl.
But you know, the thing is, okay, so I hope there are other Southerners in the room other than us. Usually there are. Yeah. So to me, your books seem to have a religious undertone, but not religion like you're going to go to hell, but more like a moral compass. Right?
Yeah.
And your characters are very driven by a sense of right and wrong, and what I think of as old-time religion before it was kind of, you know, adopted by a very conservative vision, you know, where you love your family and your friends and your neighbors and you take care of people.
Yeah.
So, but you grew up in a small southern town during a time, you know, the last gasp of Jim Crow, and
Yeah.
you saw a lot of changes, and your books are very progressive. Even the earlier ones are very progressive, very accepting of people. But, you know, if I was not from the South and I was from the North, I would assume that you would grow up to be an evil church lady stuffing flyers in people's mailbox telling them they're going to hell. So why do you have that moral compass? What directed you toward being a more progressive person?
I had excellent parents. My mother especially was very quiet about it, but she didn't share most of the beliefs of the community we lived in. And she took care to let me know very privately and personally that there was more than one way to believe and live in that society. And she was very quiet about it because she was not a confronted person. And like all women then, she was brought up to believe that a confrontive, argumentative woman is a bad thing. Whereas now if someone said, you're so pushy, I would go, yes. Because I'm constantly struggling against that component of my time and place. But she did let me know there was another way to be, and she didn't try to press me into that mold. And for that, which may seem weak now, but then was a very strong statement, she let me be myself. And I think the sense of right and wrong I got from going to church every Sunday was that helped me too, because I thought, this just doesn't make any sense to live this way. But ironically, and I may have mentioned this yesterday, when we sold our house in Arkansas, the people that bought it, one woman came to them and offered to exorcise the house because I had lived in it. Okay, embodiment of evil.
That's how I always thought about you. But you know, it's interesting to me because your main characters tend to be kind of like, if I had to create a childhood for them, it might be your childhood. because you're thinking very radical thoughts that you know that you can't really vocalize without being ostracized.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And every single character I can think of, you know, especially the women, they are kind of outsiders because of how they feel, their beliefs, and that moral compass they have. So that's something new I've learned about you. Probably you guys have already heard. I've never seen an interview before, so I didn't know. So tell me, you know, on Wikipedia it says that you were a weightlifter.
I was.
And a karate expert.
I was.
Tell me about that.
Well, obviously that came from a different place in my life, but for about 6 years I took Goju karate, which is kill with one blow, in case you didn't know. And to be better at that, I started weightlifting.
So why? Was there someone you wanted to kill, or?
Oh, so many people. It just made me feel better. It made me feel stronger. And still, when I see a punching bag, I wish I had mine back.
You know, it takes a lot of concentration and focus to do that and do it well. Do you think that writing is kind of in the same vein as that? Because when you're writing, you're on that one thing and really punching out the story. Do you think that's like a cross purpose there?
I think it helped me to focus. It did help with my focus. And it also helped me to feel like I could change myself. And if I could change, then the people in my books could change. I know there's no saying that you can't marry someone if you expect them to change. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. But I also have a sneaking, maybe crazily optimistic belief that people can change, that they can change themselves at great cost. This is not a free thing. You pay for everything, but it's to me that's a good thought.
Yeah, you know, I think people can change too, but I just think they won't do it. You know, even someone in an abusive relationship, it's like the devil I know is better.
Yeah.
So that's that. I think also, you know, reading your books, I can see that you working on that theme. You know, of people taking control of their own destiny.
It's possible, I think. I counseled rape victims for quite some time, and it was depressing to me, not that the police thought they had brought it on themselves, because sometimes that they thought that, sometimes they didn't. But it was depressing to me how many women put themselves in the position of being vulnerable and therefore were easy to attack. Some of them without two thoughts. Some of them just by their very nature, you know, particularly women who are mentally handicapped are very likely to be attacked. And they couldn't help it. I mean, they can't help that. But it makes me angry that that women have that vulnerability. It's always made me angry.
You know, it's true though. Statistically, a woman who's sexually assaulted is 80% more likely to be sexually assaulted again in her lifetime, not by the same person. And I think it's because women are really good at hating themselves, you know, and blaming themselves when something bad happens. And it's interesting because we were just talking about your killer karate. Did you feel when you were doing that like a change in strength? Because I know I took a self-defense course. Most women have never hit anybody, you know, and guys growing up, they hit people all the time, you know, and they punch each other and they butt heads.
They do. It's part of the culture.
Right, and I had two older sisters, and I mean, the worst we did was burn each other with matches and hit each other with clothes hangers. Right? So the girly violent parts. But, you know, when I took this self-defense class, it was like the first time I had really hauled off and hit somebody, and I'm ambidextrous, and I like did a left and knocked the mask and the helmet off this person, and he was like, whoa, whoa, you know, just really high-pitched shock that I had done that.
But weren't you just skipping up and down?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, come back.
Let me hit you again.
And it was really freeing. So I can imagine, I mean, it is that how it felt when you were doing karate? I mean, was it a choice?
It did, and I was really bad at it, but I thought, I'm like 20 times more ready than I was before.
Well, that's an important lesson, because, you know, once you do something, my grandmother used to say this to me, but it was more like a warning. Once you do something one time, it's easier to do it the next time.
It's a slippery slope.
And it's true, though, because I thought, okay, well, if this happens, it's like the first time I fired a gun, I was terrified, and then, like, the 5th time, I was like, I could kill you. You know, so it really, I think it's great for women to do those sorts of things, but it's not really encouraged. Even now, you know, we think, oh, feminism, woo, we've come so far, but women aren't encouraged to do that kind of thing. So let's talk about that in relation to being a writer, because you do write not just a lot of great sex, thanks a lot, but, you know, you write about really strong women. And, you know, I was talking to Lee Child, and I said, hey, has anyone ever asked you why you write about strong men? And he looked at me like I was an alien. But I'm sure you get asked that a lot. Why do you write about strong women?
Because everyone needs a goal. And I think that girls in today's society, young women, teen women, and tween women, though I hate that term, I think they need to have the example before them, not just Trixie Belden or Nancy Drew, who could never have gotten away with the things they do in any society ever. But I think they need a more realistic example of strong women who are still, who still have a place in society.
You know, Nancy Drew, so if I was thinking, if I could rewrite some of the stories I loved when I was little, like Encyclopedia Brown, well, for one, he wouldn't be in charge of everything, the girl would be. But Nancy Drew in particular, because I think we both grew up with those books. And I thought, if I rewrote it, how would I rewrite it? But then, like, this part of my brain that knows that there's a publishing industry told me it would be filled with shopping. Taking that aside, how would you write Nancy Drew today?
She would have a mother. I always thought Nancy Drew only got away with the stuff she did because she had very little supervision. She got to take off in her roadster anytime she wanted to, and nobody knew where she was going. That would never have flown in my household. I think I'll just go off to the old mill now.
It would be called Nancy Drew Grounded.
That's right, grounded for life. It would be hard to write Nancy Drew in today's society, really. But I think I would probably have her be, you know, at least a lifeguard, at least, you know, something athletic. And she would ditch Ned Nickerson in a New York Minute. So there would be big changes in Nancy Drew world.
Anything with George?
Hey, who knows?